I've had this XPin display for a long time, and shortly after I got it, it started lighting column 7 of this column of blocks in sympathy with column 8 and the other way around. So anytime a pixel in column 7 lit, the same pixel in column 8 would light. And anytime a pixel in column 8 would light, the same pixel in column 7 would light. So I talked to Brett, the engineer, who was a good engineer. I like him, and we both agreed that it was probably the driver chip here for both of these columns. Each chip drives 2 columns of blocks. So I replaced that chip and got to do some drag soldering. I'm really liking that. And it still didn't fix the problem. So I checked these resistors. These are current limiting resistors for the columns. There's 8 resistors, so that was a likely suspect. And that didn't yield anything. So I took one of the blocks off, used the data sheet to figure out which pins drove columns 7 and 8, and it turns out that it's pins 16 and 15. The numbering on these blocks is bizarre. Goes 1 through 8, 9 through 16. That's not bizarre, but the column numbers are not, this isn't row 1, 2, 3, 4 through 8, and then column 1 through 8 or anything like that. It skips around all over the place. Anyway, what I found after I got a block off was that pins 15 and 16, which are column 7 and 8, are shorted together. So I took the first block off, didn't see anything obvious, and the short still existed. So I took the second block off, same deal. Took the third block off, and what do we have here? The chunk of solder right there. You can see if I can get this closer. You can see it. That has somehow formed a bridge across pins 15 and 16. So I'm going to take that out of there. In fact, I could probably pop it out right now. Yeah. And now I can see if I still got continuity between pins 15 and 16. And I don't. So that's excellent. So I'm going to put these blocks back in and then test it. So I have repaired this display, and we'll take it over to my Attack from Mars and test it in just a second. But a couple other notes about this display. This was one of Brett's early LED block displays, and I bought it thinking it was a 5-volt only display. Well, it didn't turn out to be the case, and I guess I just didn't read the fine print. But this display, it even says it on the silk screen here, for 5-volt only systems use a different Molex connector. But this display panel requires the positive 68 volts to be present, and it takes that 68 volts and bucks it down to 5 volts in this section here. Now I'm sure I could figure out how to hack this section out of here and make it a 5-volt only display, but I probably won't because I'm just going to use this as a bench display anyway. But I've got all the blocks back in. It was this column of blocks, and again I replaced this surface mount chip thinking that that was at first the problem. So let's get it over to my Attack from Mars and test it. So we are all booted up, and you can see that this display is working perfectly now. It was this column of blocks, and it would have been this pixel that would light in sympathy, and there's a good example. You can just see 1 pixel on. Also the side of the S would come on. Let's see, I gotta get my finger on where they're at. The right side of that R would be expanded. So I think I've got this one licked, and after quite some time, I'm going to return this display back to service. Something different to work on today.